Ma'am, the open house starts in 5 minutes. Are you here with the buyers?
Linda froze on her own driveway, hospital discharge bag still in hand. A bright red for sale sign stood in her front lawn. A woman in a navy blazer smiled from the porch, clipboard ready. Behind her, two strangers peered through Linda's living room window. Linda's keys slipped in her fingers. She had been gone 4 days. Pneumonia. The doctors had cleared her that morning. Now, a laminated listing sheet fluttered on the mailbox, her address, her roses, her rocking chair visible in the photo. Price $287,000. Seller's agent Mark Carver. Her stepson's name. How could Mark sell a house he didn't own? Before we begin, if you could tap subscribe and like, it would mean so much to me. And if you don't mind, please leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from. May health and happiness find their way to you right where you are. All right then, let's begin today's story. Chapter 2, The Confusion. Linda stood there for 3 long seconds. Tessa walked down the porch steps, hand extended. I'm Tessa Nguyen with Coastal Realty. You must be a friend of the family? Linda's voice came out hoarse. I live here. Tessa's smile flickered. Oh, I was told the owner had already relocated to an assisted living facility. The words hit like a slap. Linda shook her head. I'm Linda Carver. This is my house. Tessa's clipboard dropped an inch. Behind her, the couple from the window emerged, whispering. A car pulled up fast. Mark stepped out, all charm and concern. He wore khakis and a button-down shirt, hair neatly combed. Linda, sweetheart, you should be resting. Mark Carver, stepson. He turned to Tessa with an apologetic smile. My stepmom just got out of the hospital. She's a little confused right now. Linda's throat tightened. Confused? That word. Mark guided the couple toward their car with reassurances. Tessa stayed put, watching Linda carefully. Ma'am, do you have identification? Documentation showing ownership? Linda fumbled for her wallet. Her hands shook. She pulled out her driver's license. Same address. Tessa photographed it with her phone. Professional but uneasy. Mark returned, voice low and smooth. Tessa, I apologize for the disruption. The situation is delicate. My stepmom has been struggling with her health, and we're transitioning her to a safer environment. Linda found her voice. Mark, I never agreed to sell my house. He placed a hand on her shoulder. It felt like a weight. We talked about this, remember? The medical bills. The upkeep. It's too much for you now. Linda pulled away. We did not talk about this. Tessa cleared her throat. I'm going to need to pause showings until this is clarified. I'll contact my broker. Mark's jaw tightened, just for a second. Then the smile returned. Of course. Whatever helps Linda feel secure. He walked Tessa to her car, speaking quietly. Linda stood alone in her driveway. The for sale sign swayed slightly in the breeze. Her mailbox hung open. Empty. She always had mail. Bills, church newsletters, grocery coupons. Now nothing. Across the street, her neighbor Hal stepped onto his porch. He wore his usual baseball cap and held a coffee mug. He gave Linda a small nod, a silent acknowledgement. Something was very wrong. Chapter 3. The Paper Trail. That evening, Linda sat at her kitchen table with Hal. He had knocked an hour after Mark left. Hal was 72, a retired postal worker, and had lived across the street for 19 years. He set his phone on the table. I got something you need to see. He played a video. Security camera footage from his front door. Timestamp 3 days ago, 10:47 a.m. A woman in scrubs approached Linda's mailbox. She opened it, pulled out a stack of envelopes, and walked back to Linda's house. That's Wanda, Linda whispered. Wanda Reese, hired caregiver. Wanda was the in-home helper Mark had hired when Linda came home from the hospital last month with a broken wrist. Linda had thought Wanda was helpful at first. Organized. Always had a clipboard. Always talking about getting things in order. She's been taking your mail, Hal said flatly. Linda's chest went cold. Why? Hal shrugged. Control. Isolation. Classic setup. He had seen it before. A cousin in Ohio, scammed by a caregiver and a nephew. Lost her house, ended up in a state facility. You need a lawyer, Hal said. Linda nodded slowly. The next morning, she called the number on the listing sheet. Coastal Realty's office manager answered. Linda explained who she was. The manager put her on hold. Muzak played for 4 minutes. Then a supervisor came on the line. Ms. Carver, I understand there's been some confusion. We have signed authorization from Mark Carver and documentation, including a power of attorney. Linda's voice shook. I never signed a power of attorney. Silence. Then, carefully, Ma'am, we have a notarized document on file. If there's a dispute, you'll need to address it through legal channels. The call ended. Linda sat staring at the phone. Power of attorney. She had heard the term before. Her late husband, Tom, had one for his business partner years ago. But Linda had never signed anything like that. Not for Mark. Not for anyone. Hal drove her to the county recorder's office that afternoon. The building smelled like old paper and industrial cleaner. A clerk, young and tired-looking, helped Linda fill out a request form. I need to see any documents filed against my property in the last 30 days. The clerk typed, clicked, and waited, then printed 3 pages. Linda read the first line. Power of attorney recorded 1114224. 4 days ago. The same day, she had been admitted to the hospital with pneumonia. The document listed Mark Carver as her attorney-in-fact. Her signature appeared at the bottom. Linda stared at it. It looked close, but the loop on the L was wrong. The A was too narrow. That's not my signature, she said aloud. The clerk glanced up. If you believe a document is fraudulent, you'll need to file a complaint and possibly get an attorney. Hal leaned over. Who's the notary? The clerk pointed. Notary J. Pullman, Commission. Arbei 84421. Hal took a photo with his phone. Outside, Linda sat in Hal's truck and cried for the first time. Not loud, just quiet, tired tears. Hal handed her a fast food napkin from the glove box. We fight this, he said. Linda nodded. I don't know how. Paperwork, Hal said. You fight paperwork with better paperwork. Chapter 4. The Pressure. Linda called Tessa the next morning. Tessa arrived within the hour, portfolio in hand. She sat across from Linda at the kitchen table. I pulled the authorization packet from our file, Tessa said. She spread out 4 pages. A power of attorney. A signed listing agreement. A notarized affidavit of authority. A seller's disclosure form, all dated within the same week. Linda examined each page. Her name, her address, her signature. Except it wasn't her signature. This is forged, Linda said quietly. Tessa's face tightened. I believe you. She had been in real estate for 11 years. She had seen bad paperwork before. This felt wrong the moment Linda appeared on that driveway. I'm pausing all showings, Tessa said. And I'm reporting this to my broker's legal team. Linda exhaled. Thank you. Tessa stood, then hesitated. Ms. Carver, you need a lawyer. A good one. This isn't just a listing dispute. This is elder fraud. After Tessa left, Linda searched online for elder law attorneys in Florida. She found Marisol Vega. 5-star reviews. Specializes in probate, guardianship, and financial exploitation. Linda called. The receptionist scheduled her for that afternoon. Marisol's office was small but organized. Bookshelves lined with legal codes, a single desk, a window overlooking a strip mall parking lot. Marisol was 54, sharp-eyed and calm. She listened without interrupting. Linda explained everything. The hospital stay, the for sale sign, the forged power of attorney, the missing mail. Marisol took notes on a yellow legal pad. When Linda finished, Marisol leaned back. This is a textbook exploitation case. Your stepson and this caregiver likely planned this while you were vulnerable. Linda's voice cracked. Why would Mark do this? Marisol's tone softened. Usually it's money, debt, desperation, entitlement. Sometimes all 3. She explained the next steps. Gather hospital admission and discharge records. Document every interaction with Mark and Wanda. Obtain bank statements and alert the bank to possible fraud. File a complaint with the county and request an investigation into the notary. And brace yourself, Marisol added. They're going to escalate. If they're this bold, they won't back down easily. Linda left the office with a folder full of instructions. That night, Mark showed up unannounced. He let himself in with a key Linda didn't know he had. She was sitting in the living room. He smiled. "Hey, Linda. Just checking in." His tone was light. Too light. "Mark, you need to leave." He sat down anyway. "We need to talk about the bills. Medicare doesn't cover everything, you know. Your hospital stay alone was $18,000. Linda's stomach dropped. "I have supplemental insurance." Mark shook his head. It denied the claim. Something about pre-existing conditions. He pulled a folded letter from his pocket. Official looking. Linda took it. The letter was from her insurance company. Claim denied. Appeal deadline 30 days. But the letter was dated 2 weeks ago. "Why didn't I see this?" Linda asked. Mark shrugged. "Wanda's been helping with your mail. She didn't want to worry you while you were recovering." Linda's hands trembled. "You had no right." Mark's smile faded. "I'm trying to help you, Linda. The house is too much. The bills are piling up. Assisted living makes sense. I'm not selling my house." Mark stood. His voice stayed calm, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "You might not have a choice." He left. Linda locked the door behind him and stood there, heart pounding. She called Marisol and left a voicemail. Then she sat in the dark living room, staring at the for sale sign visible through the window. The sign glowed under the streetlight. A beacon. A warning. A theft in progress. Chapter 5. The Community. Sunday morning, Linda went to church. She hadn't missed a service in 5 years. Pastor Elaine Brooks greeted her at the door with a warm hug. Elaine was 63, gentle but unshakable. "Linda, we've been praying for you. How are you feeling?" Linda tried to smile. "Better, mostly." Inside, the fellowship hall buzzed with post-service chatter. Coffee, donuts, folding tables. Linda sat with her usual group. Hal was there, along with 2 other neighbors from the street. Mark arrived late, shaking hands, playing the devoted stepson. He brought Wanda. She wore a professional smile and a lanyard that read, "Certified Caregiver." People thanked her for taking care of Linda. Wanda accepted the praise graciously. Linda felt nauseous. After the potluck, Elaine pulled Linda aside. "Something's wrong. I can see it." Linda hesitated. Then she told her, "Not everything, but enough." Elaine listened, face unreadable. When Linda finished, Elaine squeezed her hand. "You're not alone in this. We'll help however we can." That afternoon, Hal knocked on Linda's door. He had his phone again. "Got something else?" He played a new video. Ring camera footage from 2 nights ago. Mark's car in Linda's driveway. 2 people arguing beside it. Wanda and a younger man Linda didn't recognize. Hal turned up the volume. The man's voice was sharp. "If this falls through, we're screwed. I already lined up the investor. Devin Reese, Wanda's son." Wanda's reply was quieter. "The agent's getting nervous. We need to close fast." The man kicked the tire. "Then handle her." They got in their cars and left. Linda's throat went dry. "Who's the younger man?" Hal had already searched. "Devin Reese, Wanda's son. He's got an LLC. Calls himself a real estate investor. Mostly flips foreclosures." Linda felt the pieces clicking. Mark needed money. Devin needed inventory. Wanda needed a cut. And Linda was the obstacle. That evening, Linda opened a piece of mail that had been left on her counter. It was addressed to Mark, but left at her house. An IRS notice. Final demand for unpaid taxes. Amount owed $47,000. Interest accruing daily. Linda sat down hard. Mark wasn't just in debt. He was desperate. Marisol called that night. Linda told her everything. The overheard argument, the IRS letter, the insurance denial. Marisol's voice was steady. "They're building a narrative. You're incapable, overwhelmed, unsafe. They're going to try to get guardianship or force you into assisted living." Linda's voice barely worked. "Can they do that?" "They can try. But we have evidence on our side now. Keep documenting. Don't sign anything. Don't let them isolate you." Linda hung up and stared at the ceiling. Her house, her life, her autonomy, all under attack. And the weapon was paper. Chapter 6. The Trap. 3 days later, 2 sheriff's deputies knocked on Linda's door. She opened it, confused. Ms. Linda Carver? Yes, we're here for a wellness check. We received a report that you might be in distress or unable to care for yourself. Linda's heart sank. I'm fine. The deputies were polite but thorough. They asked her questions. What's today's date? Do you take medication? Do you feel safe? Linda answered calmly. Yes, she knew the date. Yes, she took blood pressure medication, prescribed and managed. Yes, she felt safe until recently. The deputies noted her answers. One of them glanced around the house. Clean. Organized? No signs of neglect. They thanked her and left. But the damage was done. An hour later, Marisol called. They filed a petition. Emergency guardianship hearing. They're claiming you're incapacitated. Linda sat down. When? Hearing is in 5 days. Marisol's voice turned sharp. We're going to fight this. Hard. I need you to get every piece of documentation you can. Bank statements, bills you've paid, discharge instructions from the hospital, anything showing you're managing your affairs independently. Linda spent the next 2 days gathering paperwork. Her checkbook showed regular, accurate payments. Her pill organizer was filled correctly. Her discharge instructions from the hospital were highlighted and followed. Hal provided a sworn statement. He had seen Linda maintain her home, manage her mail, and live independently for years. Tessa sent a letter to Marisol. She confirmed that Linda appeared coherent, capable, and rightfully alarmed when she discovered the unauthorized listing. Elaine organized a quiet campaign. Church members wrote letters of support. Linda is active. Linda volunteers. Linda has been clear-headed and kind for as long as we've known her. On the 4th day, Wanda showed up. She knocked, then used a key. Linda met her in the hallway. You need to leave. Wanda's smile didn't waver. I'm here to help, Linda. I brought updated care forms for you to sign. She held out a clipboard. 3 pages, small print. Linda didn't take it. I'm not signing anything. Wanda's smile thinned. These are standard consent forms. For your own protection. Linda stepped back. Get out of my house. Wanda's voice dropped. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Mark is trying to help you. We all are. Linda's voice stayed steady. Leave. Now. Wanda left. But Linda saw her take photos of the living room with her phone on the way out. Linda called Marisol immediately. She's building a case, trying to make you look unstable or unsafe. Marisol paused. We need to flip this. Show the judge who's really unsafe here. The hearing was tomorrow. Linda didn't sleep. Chapter 7. The Heartbreak. The morning of the hearing, Linda dressed carefully. A blue blouse. Clean slacks. Her wedding ring. Hal drove her to the courthouse. Marisol met them in the hallway. Remember, stay calm. Answer clearly. Don't let them bait you. Inside the courtroom, Mark sat with his attorney. Wanda sat beside him, hands folded. Devon was absent. The judge, a woman in her 60s, reviewed the petition. Mark's attorney spoke first. He painted a picture. Linda, recently hospitalized, struggling with bills, isolated, refusing help, a danger to herself. Wanda testified next. She described Linda as forgetful, resistant, and emotionally unstable. She cited the wellness check as proof. She showed photos of the house, claiming disrepair. The photos were angled to make the rooms look cluttered and dark. Then Marisol stood. She presented hospital records. Linda had been admitted with pneumonia, treated and discharged with a clean bill of health. No cognitive concerns noted. Marisol presented Linda's bank statements. Bills paid on time. No missed payments. No overdrafts. Marisol called Hal. He testified about Linda's independence and capability. He played the Ring camera footage. The argument between Wanda and Devon. The mention of closing fast and handling her. The judge's expression shifted. Marisol called Tessa. Tessa testified. She confirmed that Mark had posed as the authorized seller. She confirmed the power of attorney looked suspicious. She confirmed that Linda had been coherent and rightfully shocked. Finally, Marisol called Linda. Linda took the stand. Her voice was quiet but firm. Your Honor, I'm not incapacitated. I'm being targeted. My stepson forged a power of attorney while I was hospitalized. He listed my house without my knowledge or consent. He and his accomplices have intercepted my mail, pressured me to sign documents, and tried to paint me as incompetent to cover their fraud. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Carver, do you feel safe in your home? Linda hesitated, then said it. Not while they have access to it. After a recess, the judge returned. Petition for guardianship is denied. Ms. Carver has demonstrated capacity and independence. However, I'm referring this matter to the state attorney's office for investigation into possible fraud and exploitation. The gavel came down. Linda exhaled. Outside, Mark caught her in the parking lot. His lawyer was gone. It was just him. Linda, wait. She stopped. Mark's face was red. I was trying to help. You don't understand how much pressure I'm under. Linda turned. I understand you forged my signature. I understand you tried to steal my house. Mark's voice cracked. Your husband would have wanted me taken care of. Linda's chest tightened. Tom, her late husband, Mark's father. She had loved Tom deeply. But this wasn't about love. Tom would have wanted me respected, Linda said quietly. Mark opened his mouth, then closed it. He walked away. Linda stood there, shaking. That night, she couldn't sleep. She went to the closet and pulled out Tom's lockbox. She hadn't opened it in 2 years. Inside the will, the deed, some old photos, and a handwritten note dated 3 years before Tom died. Linda, this house is yours. Keep it. You earned it. Don't let anyone take it. Tea, Linda cried. Not from sadness, from clarity. Tom had known. He had seen Mark's weaknesses, and he had protected her. Even now. Chapter 8. The evidence. Marisol moved fast. She contacted the notary, J. Pullman. Pullman was nervous. He agreed to meet. They sat in a coffee shop, recorder running with his consent. Pullman was in his 50s, a part-time notary who worked at a shipping store. I remember that document, he said. The guy seemed rushed. He said his stepmom was sick and couldn't come in. Marisol leaned forward. Did you see identification for Linda Carver? Pullman shifted. He showed me a photocopy of her driver's license. A photocopy? Yeah. Did you see Linda Carver in person? Silence. No. Marisol's voice stayed level. So you notarized a signature you didn't witness. Pullman's face went pale. He said it was okay. He said she had signed it earlier and just needed it notarized. That's not how notarization works. Pullman nodded, miserable. Marisol obtained his notary journal. The entry showed the date and time 11/1/42/24, 10:15 a.m. Linda's hospital admission record showed she was in the emergency room at 9:47 a.m. that same day. Marisol cross-checked Linda's phone location data. With Linda's consent, the phone company provided a log. Linda's phone pinged from the hospital all morning. There was no way she could have been at the shipping store. Marisol also contacted the county recorder. The document had been filed electronically at 2:33 p.m. by Mark. Tessa provided the email thread from Coastal Realty. The initial contact came from an email address Mark Carver. Properties email, com. The emails referenced relocating the owner and urgent sale due to health decline. Hal provided more footage. Devin placing the for sale sign in Linda's yard at 6:48 a.m., 3 days after the document was recorded. No one had asked Linda. Marisol compiled it all into a binder. Timeline, hospital records, phone data, notary journal, email evidence, video footage, witness statements. She filed a formal complaint with the state attorney, and she prepared for court. Linda sat with Marisol the night before the hearing. What happens now? Marisol's voice was calm. You tell the truth. Simply. Clearly. You don't need to be angry. You just need to be honest. Linda nodded. I'm scared. I know. But you're not alone. Chapter 9. The Reckoning. The courtroom was fuller this time. A prosecutor sat at one table. Mark, Wanda, and their attorney at another. Devin had been subpoenaed but sat in the back, arms crossed. The judge called the hearing to order. This wasn't criminal court yet, but it was the civil fraud hearing that would determine whether the power of attorney was void and whether further action was warranted. The prosecutor presented first. She laid out the timeline. Hospital admission 9:47 a.m. Notarization 10:15 a.m., 30 miles away. Phone location hospital. Witness none. ID photocopy only. The prosecutor played the video of Devon and Wanda arguing. The words were clear. If this falls through, we're screwed. We need to close fast. The judge took notes. Tessa testified again. She explained how she had been contacted by Mark, provided with documents, and told Linda had moved. When I saw Ms. Carver on her own driveway, I knew something was very wrong, Hal testified. He described the mail theft, the surveillance footage, the pattern of isolation. The notary, Pullman, was called. He admitted he never saw Linda. He admitted he notarized a signature he didn't witness. His face was red with shame. Mark's attorney tried to argue. My client believed he was acting in Ms. Carver's best interest. The prosecutor didn't blink. Forging a legal document is never in anyone's best interest. Wanda was called. She tried to stay calm. But when the prosecutor asked about the mail, Wanda stumbled. I was helping her organize. By taking her mail without permission? She asked me to. Do you have that in writing? Silence. Did you take photos of Ms. Carver's home to make it appear unsafe? Wanda's jaw tightened. I documented her living conditions for her protection. Who asked you to do that? Wanda glanced at Mark. No answer. Then Linda was called. She walked to the stand, hands steady now. The prosecutor asked her to explain what happened. Linda spoke clearly. I went to the hospital with pneumonia. When I came home, my house was for sale. I never agreed to that. I never signed a power of attorney. My stepson and his associates forged my signature, stole my mail, and tried to convince everyone I was incompetent so they could take my home. The prosecutor asked, why do you think they did this? Linda looked at Mark. Because he needed money, and I was convenient. The judge asked Linda one question. Ms. Carver, what do you want? Linda took a breath. I want my house. I want my safety. I want my dignity back. The judge made her ruling. The power of attorney is void. It was obtained through fraud and deception. The listing is cancelled. Ms. Carver retains full ownership and control of her property. I'm referring this matter to the state attorney for criminal investigation. Mr. Carver, Ms. Reese and Mr. Reese are prohibited from contacting Ms. Carver without court supervision. The gavel fell. Linda closed her eyes. It was over. Outside, reporters waited. Tessa had tipped off a local news station. Elder fraud was a story. Linda gave a short statement. No one should have to fight this hard to keep their own home. If this happened to me, it's happening to others. Pay attention to your paperwork. Trust your instincts. And don't be afraid to ask for help. The segment aired that night. Linda watched it at Hal's house. Her face on the screen. Her words. Her fight. She had won. Chapter 10. The warm aftertaste. 2 weeks later, the for sale sign came down. Linda stood in her front yard and watched Hal pull it from the ground. He grinned. Good riddance, Linda smiled. The first real smile in weeks. Mark faced criminal charges. Fraud, forgery, exploitation of an elder. Wanda lost her caregiver license. Devon's LLC was under investigation. The notary faced professional sanctions. Linda changed her locks. She updated her will with Marisol's help. She named a trusted agent, someone who would protect her wishes. Not family, chosen family. Hull, Elaine, Tessa, who had become a friend. The church held a quiet celebration. Not a big event. Just coffee, donuts, and the people who had stood by Linda. Elaine hugged her. You did it. Linda shook her head. We did it. Because it hadn't been just her. It had been Hal's cameras, Tessa's integrity, Marisol's brilliance, the community's support. One person couldn't fight a scheme alone, but a circle could. That afternoon, Linda sat on her porch. The rocking chair creaked gently. The mailbox flag was up. Real mail this time. A letter from the county. A confirmation that her deed was secure. A notice that her case had helped trigger a new task force on elder fraud. Linda folded the letter. She thought about Tom's note. Don't let anyone take it. She hadn't. A car pulled up. Tessa stepped out holding a folder. I brought you something. It was a framed photo. The for sale sign, lying flat in the grass. Hal standing over it, arms crossed, victorious. Linda laughed. That's perfect. Tessa sat beside her. You know, I've been doing real estate for 11 years. I've never been prouder of a deal that didn't close. Linda nodded. They sat in comfortable silence. The sun dipped low. The neighborhood was quiet. Safe. Home. Linda started a small project. She partnered with Elaine and Marisol to create a free workshop at the church. Protecting your paperwork. They taught seniors how to spot fraud, how to safeguard documents, when to ask for help, who to call. The first session had 12 people. The second had 30. Word spread. Linda stood at the front of the fellowship hall, nervous but sure. This happened to me, she began, and I'm here to make sure it doesn't happen to you. She shared her story. Not for pity, for power, for prevention. Afterward, an older man approached her. Thank you. My son's been asking me to sign things. I wasn't sure. Now I know to get them checked first. Linda squeezed his hand. Always check. That night, Linda sat at her kitchen table. She poured a cup of tea, opened her Bible, read a psalm about refuge and strength. She thought about the journey, the fear, the fight, the victory. Not perfect. Not without scars, but real. And hers. She thought about Tom's note again. You earned it. She had. And she would protect it. For herself. And for anyone else who needed to see that it was possible. To stand up. To speak out. To win. Linda looked out the window at the dark street. The porch light glowed. A small beacon. A sign. Not for sale, but home. This story reminds us that a home is more than property. It's dignity, safety, and autonomy. What would you have done if you came home to find strangers walking through your house? Thank you for listening, and take gentle care of yourself today.